We know who we are. We know where we come from. And, I mean, for people to say that you are a lost tribe, I mean, you know what the press does sometimes. They will coin whatever. They will use punchy words that will capture, and people want to know, lost tribe in South Africa? And believe me, we're not a lost tribe. We know who we are. We know what we want. And I think we know where we're going as well. That's the most important thing.
The first slaves that came into Port Natal were the slaves that were rescued from the Zanzibar island. They were being shipped to the east, in the Arabs, where they will be sold to the respective Arab bosses. That boat was intercepted by a British man of war who actually rerouted that boat to the Zanzibar island where the people were taken from. Because Zanzibar island was like a depot where all the slaves were captured and they were stored at Zanzibar island. So when they were brought back to Zanzibar from the Red Sea, in Zanzibar there was a British consul called John Keck. So John Keck actually intervened in that when the British people were fighting tooth and nail against slavery. So he communicated with the British people who were already in Port Natal. So realizing that there was a shortage of labor in the Port Natal, then arrangements were made that our people be brought here to Port Natal. He did not trust the Sultan of Zanzibar because there was a suspicion that he also had a hand in this slavery. So our people were brought here in Port Natal. So they arrived here on the 4th of August, 1873.
When they arrived in Durban, the rescued slaves served a 5-year indenture tenure as cheap labor to the British settlers. Upon the release, they settled in an area called King's Rest, captured mainly from the northern Mozambican provinces of Nacala and Nampula, were now collectively called Zanzibaris, based on the fact that they were bound for the slave warehouses of Zanzibar. After living for over 90 years in King's Rest, secure in a well-knit and harmonious community, their sanctity was shattered by the apartheid government, being forcibly removed from the land of their ancestors under the brutality of the Group Areas Act. Leaving their beloved mosque and cemetery, the Zanzibaris suffered further dehumanization when the application of the bizarre Population Registration Act finally classified them as other Asians. They were moved to the sprawling Indian township of Chatsworth, where new forms of socio-economic and political problems awaited them.
No, bro, he has nothing, man. Hey, take a chance, eh? No por away.
That's the sound of rovers walking on the field. Yeah. Ooh. Go Nico. Ooh. Go Shotze. Ooh. Go Chagda. Ooh.
Women have equal rights as men. If you want to play soccer, we have all the rights in the world to play soccer. They only thought this was a man's game, but we proved them wrong, and they're seeing that we're doing well. We're really interested in the game, and the support is now growing.
When we came to Chatsworth, immediately one felt a change. In Kingsrest, we had no problem with payment. You just lived there, and if you could manage to get money for your food and send your children to school, life went on. But immediately we came here, we had other things now to worry about. We had things like buying furniture to worry about. We had all kinds of competition, lights, rent. A lot of people lost their houses. Chatsworth did a lot of damage to us.
The informal settlement that you see around you came about because of housing shortage. The greater percentage of the people that are living in the informal settlement are of Zanzibari stock, or should I say Makua stock. But there were other brothers and sisters that were displaced from their communities who came here to the community, and seeing it being a peaceful community, decided to integrate and come in. And we as a community, also a community that has suffered, understood exactly the predicament they were in. And we opened our arms.
We use this place for our preschool, and as you can see that we have beds on the other side. Those beds are used for the little kids, the ages that I was telling you about that range from about 0 till about 3 years old. And this little area, as you can see, is where we house our kids. And we use it as a kitchen for us to work in. It's actually someone's house. This is actually a shack. And as you can see, we have these tin roofs with a board. When it's hot, it gets too hot in here because you can see how the roof is. And you got to take the kids outside, and there isn't enough space outside as well. It's very difficult because of the number. We have 26 kids in this place. Now can you imagine 26 kids in a little place like this?
They forgot about us, that we ever exist or anything. A lot of opportunities came around, but unfortunately we were unsuccessful, you see. A lot of us are matriculants, you see, learned people. Others couldn't complete school through some situations. The community itself, there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do at this point. You see, we have to talk to at least some of the people involved in the parliament. You see, then they can focus on us and get our problems sorted out.
Take, for instance, cricket. We've got youngsters who are willing to play cricket, who are also willing to play tennis. But the facilities, a boxing gym, nothing of that nature. Like maybe a tennis court where the children can practice. There's nothing. As you can look, like our play lots there, you can see. They're alarming states, just like a forest. The kids got no way to play, and it's bothering our development. I mean, even the guys we speak to, the LAC, we tried, nothing has been done. As a result, you find a lot of accidents around here, our kids playing in the streets. I mean, you can see it now, the youngsters are playing soccer at the streets. That's where they learn the football.
A hall needs to be, put up. And then where we can go as youth in the afternoons and use that hall. Kids can come after school, like, play computer games, whatever. So we got our youth, like, all the time, doing something. And as a result, that will take away the kids from, doing other things, like taking drugs and alcohol.
It was said that the Zanzibari children are doing a lot of wrong things in school. And then when I spoke to a couple of the youth in our area, and I asked them, what's going on in the school? And, guys just said that, why is it that everyone's pointing at us? Why aren't they speaking to the other people that are also involved in this kind of thing? It's only us that they see. It's because, why is it, is it because we are black or what?
I don't know whether it's because of the apartheid rule that has been happening, where we applied for these jobs and then we don't get them. Where we say, look, my name is so-and-so, I'm an Asian, but when you go there because you don't look like an Asian person, then you don't qualify for the job. And that job goes to an Asian person. Although that person doesn't have those qualifications, but he or her will get it. But just because although you have the qualifications, but you don't have the Asian look, and you don't get the job. That's what we suffered.
Makua and loko en nira hiano Makua ni wanane en loko nira ura ni kumane en nira ura ni wehe ura ni hitu na binadamu para muzihu aikan leva o Chatsworth wala o South Africa wala Africa de South akanloani umhipiti o Mozambique o Comoro Island ni Mapuroteno Tanzania o Zanzibar o Beira enizwele ura hitu amakwa havo va para ura loko ni hunitike numakuole uitike itu ninazivelio labla kula mtu alabla ke lingwawe unizimura miki binadamu akitikeale.
Spared of the horrors of slavery and now ravaged by apartheid, the resolve and resilience of the Zanzibaris is nourished by their unswerving commitment to Islam and their language. This enables and empowers the community to fight for survival as the most marginalized and smallest minority group in South Africa.
ومن ألطاف معناهن يسير من قبل إبراهيم وإسحاق.
The Ratib performances and the circumcision ceremonies reaffirms their faith and consolidates their identity. The Ratib is an altered consciousness state of ecstasy, where performers become immune to pain when they pierce needles and plunge knives and spikes into different parts of their bodies.
We first start with the wazifa. Then the Khalifa recites out the certain Fatiha, which is the prayer for this Ratib. Then you find the songs are being sang by the audience. When the drums are being drummed, then you find the Khalifa takes these spikes first and start demonstrating. When the Khalifa finishes up, any one of the audiences can come in and use it. The Ratib, when we start, firstly, you got to be clean. And you got to perform 2 rakats of prayers for it. Because this Ratib used to be played by the saints of Islam. You got to be clean in order to use these spikes, whereas you cannot be harmed by them. Where it has been showing something like miracles, where people could believe this faith, they use needles and spikes, and you don't find no blood drawing out, and there's sort of a play. Then you find that some of people who did not think anything about the Islam becomes attracted to it. And then you find them, they join into it.
The circumcision ceremony marks the rites of passage from childhood to adulthood, and the boys are received amidst joyous street celebrations as they emerge from their initiation process.
When the boys get up to the pubic age, they have to go for circumcision. You see, the boys were put in a secluded place where it was only boys, far away from home. There could be up to 50, 60, depending on the number. And they will stay there until the circumcision healed.
We used to take them up in the bush. We get in one old man there who will look after them, who is well versed in this, looking after them. And there they are not just going to sit and being nursed. This particular old man will be giving them some tuitions. How to respect, how to know what's good and what's bad.
It was a sort of, a promotion in life that you are now an accepted person. Even I can say in marriage life, when you go to somebody, you want his daughter, there was a condition as such that if you're not circumcised, you cannot marry his daughter.
I tell you what the old people did. They were great philosophers. They were great diplomats, those old guys. They will come up to you and tell you, my boy, you want to go to India? You want to take a ship? You want to go by boat? If so, you know what? You must collect a lot of bottles. Because when we go to India, you're going to get a lot of honey. They will trick us and we will all be excited. We'll run all over the show looking for these bottles. Because he had something, and in this he will put, it was like a calabash, you know. There will be a honey in there, and he will just let you, lick this and and you say to myself, wow, I can imagine myself just going into that honey. And this is how they actually tricked us, so when we went for circumcision. And when you got there, after all the honey, you never found any honey. All you found was that there was some pain somewhere in your body. I don't have to describe where in your body, but something was missing.
A measure of the Zanzibaris' marginalized position is that the majority of South Africans are ignorant about the existence of this community. About 10,000 in number today, they have nevertheless charted their traumatic and emotional history with clarity, purpose, and passion as they mount a determined assertiveness to claim their voice and survive in the newly acquired democracy of South Africa.
We, as the Zanzibari community, have never had any representation in any tier of government. When the issue of Zanzibaris came about, it was just deferred. Nobody wanted to take responsibility for our plight. The LACs passed it to the HODs, that is the House of Delegates. The House of Delegates, it's not our problem. These people are not our problem. We were not consulted when they were brought into our area. So we're saying that if South Africa is really changed, and it is changed to empower all communities, we are saying that for a change, hear us as a community. So we're going to be pushing a representative in the local government election as a community. You must remember we are in the minority here in South Africa. We would like to preserve our culture. We would like to preserve our language and to stay together. We've always been a cohesive community. If you move into an environment where people don't actually have the same cultural habits as yourself, or don't even speak the language that you speak, you tend to lose your language. And that is where our concern is. That's why we want to stick together as a community. This is how we've been since we came to South Africa. And, this is what we want. Not because we want to be in isolation from the rest of South Africa, but we are a community and we want to be recognized as a community together in one brotherhood, one sisterhood. Don't divide us. Central to our lives is Islam. You can imagine if I'm a Muslim and I'm living amongst people that are not Muslims, what about the children that are going to be born? Do you think they will inherit this wonderful culture that we were fortunate to have inherited from our elders?
We shall conquer. We want our land. Now. We want our land. Now is the time. Now is the time for us to get our land back. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. I don't hear you. Ya Rabbana, Ya Rabbana, Ya
The South African Zanzibari community's fight for the restitution of land can be traced to their ancestors' arrival in Durban in 1873. They were captured from the east coast of Africa and were being transported on the high seas in an Arab dhow to be sold in Zanzibar's slave warehouses. Rescued by a British warship and brought to Durban, the freed slaves worked as indentured laborers for the British settlers. Upon completion of their labor contract, they settled in an area called King's Rest on the Bluff, 3 kilometers from Durban. Adherents of the same religion, they befriended Durban's Indian Muslim community. Several Indian Muslim businessmen, concerned that the Zanzibaris not lose their religion and sense of community by being absorbed within other communities in South Africa, convinced Reuben Benningfield, who owned the land the Zanzibaris were living on, to sell a 43-acre plot. This was bought under the auspices of the newly formed Mohammedan Trust.
They purchased this land for the community. Then they became trustees, which will look after the interest of not only the land itself, but of the people also in the land. I think you understand that this land was bought under the name, the Islamic term known as Waqaf, something that does not belong to any individual among them, but for those that it was bought for and for the purpose that it was bought for.
Well, the land that was occupied by the Zanzibari community is very ideally situated between the bay on one side and the sea on the other side. You could see the whole of the Durban Bay, the mangroves, the unspoiled area, and we've sat at our veranda and we could see the ship coming in, the yachts on a Saturday afternoon with the races, and as a backdrop to that, you could get the Durban city. And then on the other side, we had the sea, and between the sea and the houses that we occupied, there were beautiful trees, there were beautiful vegetation area that the people could grow their crops in, and every home had its own avocado trees and had its own mango trees. And the area was so full of avocados, especially, that we used to have a gentleman coming in from the fresh produce market, Mr. Mahabir, and he used to buy off those trees from the people.
The Zanzibaris at Bluff was a very settled, community. I can say very settled because we lived in harmony, and there was very, good understanding among the people. In every occasion we worked together, whether it was in happy occasions or in sad occasions. I can say this is very, important part or, something in a community. When you cooperate, you live together as a family.
Vayari mpuro nava nana wizine la kama shakasha ya kale weekend. Kula mahuku nana rota kuni nana rikamazi na ikale la teretu nana mwingwa nana varedini nana rodi kirino tene kaya arivo atumaluku makinava o takalaza naru o tene nana mwingwa nanu varana nari unity mpuruna nabo abo nari unity.
Everybody was close together. We used to do things together, play together. We had our grannies and grandfathers to tell us stories. Some stories, when you think about it today, you think it was impossible things, but nevertheless, we used to look forward to, after supper, before we go to bed, all the grandchildren and the mothers and the father, we're sitting together around the fire. Like, it was really the highlight of the day.
Everything was nearby. I mean, the shops, the graveyard, the mosque. Going for wood wasn't far. I mean, we had everything because when you come to vegetables, we had a garden. When you come to fruits, we had a plantation. Come to poultry, we had fowls, we had ducks, you know. Maybe then to go for oil and things like groceries. But everything was nearby.
Ah, life was fantastic. Life was fantastic. It was very wonderful. I'll tell you, that was a very fortunate, lucky place, because people, even those who did not work, they used to make their 3 meals a day. We had the sea nearer. People used to go shrimping, fishing. Those who did never work, they used to do their living out of that. Planting. There was no hustle there. People lived very happily. But when the group areas came in, that slaughtered us.
The pervasive sense of community at King's Rest, which promoted safety and security for South Africa's smallest minority for over 90 years, was abruptly shattered by the racist legislations of the Nationalist Party. The Population Registration Act and the Group Areas Act devastated the Zanzibari community. After several race classification attempts, the apartheid government finally labeled the Zanzibaris as other Asians and relocated them to the Indian township of Chatsworth. The Mohammedan Trust had also changed to become the Juma Masjid Trust, and as new trustees came into office during the 1950s, the bond between the trust and the Zanzibari community weakened. Except the trust retained ownership and control of a few acres of land that housed the Zanzibari Mosque and Cemetery. Under pressure of the Group Areas Act, the rest of the 43 acres was sold by the trust to the Durban Corporation and the Natal Provincial Administration. The trauma of leaving King's Rest and the subsequent breaking of a deep spiritual bond to the land resulted in the premature deaths of many Zanzibaris. The eviction to Chatsworth once again emphasized the catalogue of injustices unleashed on the community, eroding and erasing any power to control their own lives and destiny.
When I came home, I hear that, hey, there's notices here, tomorrow we are leaving, tomorrow we are going. Tomorrow we are going. Yes. It was a matter of 1 and 2 days. Those big trucks came down to load us up. You know, it was pathetic. When you look at how people were being chucked in there and all that, with all your stock and barrel and all that, maybe sometime you get 2 families in one, you got to come and sort out, you find things were broken out. See? Those memories were not good at all.
I can remember those trucks. I can actually, till this day, I still remember there were Leyland Albion trucks, tip-up trucks, sand trucks actually. There were new trucks. Like, to me at that time, being a boy, I think I was more interested than the ride I'm gonna get from the truck than what is actually happening around me. Although I do remember my grandfather was very, very sad in that day, and I couldn't really understand, like, why he's being sad, like, when, you know, there's trucks here that are gonna be taking us somewhere where we are being promised free land, free lights and taps in the house. I couldn't understand why my grandfather as well didn't even want to accept a house here in Chatsworth till much later in life.
A member of Parliament, Mr. Harry Lewis, was the one during this what's named Group Area Act. That's when he says, no, those Zanzibaris people, they are entitled to have colored rights. When it came to our meeting, we were not happy about it. Why there must be to say that we must go under colored rights? We are not colored. We resemble African, but we are Zanzibari as a whole. If they want to class that, okay. So it passed, we had to get the Zanzibari rights. That's how we had to come here. And when we came here, oh man, at first we were happy, but after the couple of weeks we could hear those remarks. These are blacks, why they don't go Amlazi, why they don't go Amashu, etc. All that we didn't worry about it because we didn't come here overnight. We didn't come in a dark night or in a night. We came during the daylight. How we came, we were quite happy because we know, well, we had no option to, we had to leave that place. We were They told us group area affected us. We have no power, we're poor people, we haven't got money to fight for all that. But deep in our hearts, up till now, as I'm saying, it's heartbreaking because I live here, I'm not happy. My heart is there. I'm feeling there. I'm thinking of all place because our birthplace.
So the actual removal was not taken very well. The community prayed about it. They tried very, very hard to fight and stay there as a community. At the end of the day, because of the Islamic faith, they were classified as other Asians, and it was accepted that as a community, we will be all moved out to Chatsworth.
Ijuma Masjid Trust, who's been looking after the place all the time? You see? They are the ones who sold it. But as I say now, according to the Islamic, a place what has been given as waqf, in the Holy Quran, in the holy injunction of the Quran, you cannot sell it, you cannot take it. It should be entirely left into the owners who were residing there, because it's in black and white. It has been given to these people.
Then we were moved on from there to Chatsworth. In Chatsworth, we were forced into a 2-bedroom house, a kitchen and a living room, only a toilet cum shower, no proper bathroom. So the houses was insufficient. Most people even used the living room as a bedroom. And the difficulty arose then that if you wanted to visit somebody, you couldn't do it after dark, because instead of people sitting in a lounge, you'll find people now sleeping in their lounge. And most people cramped their bedroom and their lounge furniture in one and the same room. And it was very, very difficult to survive.
Abidi kurwa kuvara mtako slave. Wilapo elava. Elelova ni kanakava hikukala hikunua. Hikuayaranihu. Ni aklatan peace. Na rino pa za tayela masina aklatan peace. Kana hawa na hatetu. Kana hawa. Kanindi kana ndwali uchesweti no rakala.
Miano mamnaka amalili mteko. Zimalelia wemteko kukuma kukihimera ure anginzuela ura anaka yaunla kinroa wira sheni kinroa wira la sheni masikui himage ura nrowiziva masivi kumaliawe yari 18 December 1965 66 kukuma yari Sunday kukuma kura ropenta kurowaka Island View upia kuihilaka mazi mekuhawa kana namane 6 nikari pregnant mekuikanna mali olivele enupa kantio tumihia miano anginzuela kurwaka corporation kujukujela mpashota mekuizuela kampuro norowa يا الله يا مولانا إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم دعواهم فيها سبحانك اللهم وتحيتهم فيها السلام وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله
Miki kalleba mika hunde kuto wirahu padari nupa ka yarna ka kana nupa yari nupa yulu pale kana six bedroom dining room a kitchen ni lenga trizu zora era data kale jodolo masi lenga trizaru re ni bathroom elela va hikuroni o chaswat na upana na po na pele na pu ni pelo hobolowa nakwa ninkushio chaswat ninrwani owanyihu ele kabrustani ndinihu kadi hedi ya prankina ninrwani owanyihu amuzi hutena river Nimpeka hokoloa omusi hubariwaya. Elapuyunda mundelo. Elapuyunda mundelo. Notungu, anihu, karina anihu mpuron moza. Akina korina pele, akina koruvai, arivai, amare anihu. Kanikila tina anihu. Arimo tene. Yey. Karina anihu, amuzihu, akina kore Phoenix, akina koru, Newland West, akina koru Newlands. Onyulands akina koruvaya. No mara ya kadika bazarimi huva. Zarimo on peace va. Elala va. No horwa. Nikushiowani. Nikurwani ava. Ninashukuru manchene. Ura no nyakala mtako wanyihu. No nyakala mtako wanyihu. Kisabe na piowani. Nakalo kumi. Kaninzuweda. Erete ya zinin warea. No fraye roha zizotene. Nrwade hiyo wanyihu chaswan. No kuma chaswan nrwade ya King Rest. We want our place. King Rest was resting here. We was resting. No chaswan. Chaswan, just my way. The chaswan is our way. This is the King Rest. We're having a rest, King Rest. We should put on Alhamdulillah. We want our place. We want to come back.
Heartbreaking because we still got that feelings of the old place. Yeah. We don't know. Life is such.
The masculine smell of status. You'll hate it if you haven't got it. Introducing Noble Conqueror, available in spray, roll-on and aftershave.
One thing we always say, we are happy because they say everything has got an end. But it would be so nice if my old people are buried there and I must be buried, I'll be happy. I'll be happy, truly.
I believe the Juma Masjid Trust should hand over any kinds of trusteeship that they have. They should hand it over to the civics because they do not represent the Zanzibar community. And I think you will get that message loud and clear from the community itself. They don't regard the Juma Masjid Trust as their representatives in any way. So what I'm saying is perhaps in the old days it was fine, but not anymore. Now, I believe Juma Masjid Trust must hand back everything to the community. Let them do whatever they want to.
This is when Juma Masjid really wrote a letter. It's a written statement to the civic stating that if it comes to the matter of King's Rest, Bluff or Juma, or the masjid in King's Rest, it is the trustees who are the sole owners and the sole controllers of the place, and whatever decision they will take, the decision that suits the trustees without the consultation of the community. It is, of course, disappointing, disheartening, displeasing, and, it's not in the spirit of Islam, I would say. So not only I as an individual, the entire, members of the community are really, upset by such decision being taken by the Juma Trust.
What I would like is for people in higher offices, especially at national level in government offices, who could possibly help this community. They have a major shortage of houses in Chatsworth in Unit 2, where they have been rehoused against their will. And my problem is that this land, which is here sitting idle, rightfully belongs to them. It was given to them in trust. And if somebody at national level or provincial level, government level, can come forward and say, right, we are here to assist you, let's see what we can do to get back your land and relocate these people on this land.
We worked for this land. We chopped trees, we chopped the bushes that were here and made it a living habitat. We made it a place where today every developer in the Republic of South Africa wants to get involved. This is prime land. You can see the beauty of this land. You can see the bay around there. You can see the masjid that has helped to shape the direction of this community. And out there on my extreme right lies those great men and women that fought to keep us together as a community. And we are saying that this spirit of togetherness must stay with us until, inshallah, the Lands Claim Court gives us back our land.
From that, obviously, will flow the reusage of this mosque, the upkeeping of this mosque, the imams that would come from this community, the imams are the priests of the community itself, they would come from them. And then perhaps we can go a step further and build a community center here and a madrasa, which is a school for children. And a step further, I believe, the fancy Islamic banks that you have in Durban, I think they should come, assist these people in rehousing and relocating them. Give them long-term loans, interest-free loans. Why not? Is this not the concept of Islam? After all, whether he is black or Indian, white or yellow, he is your brother in Islam.
The land is extremely valuable, but it's the land of the Zanzibari community. If a developer had to get hold of this, God forbid any developer getting hold of this, then it's worth a lot of money. But we don't want it for development and for profit making. They want this land back so that they can settle here, go back and worship their ancestors, meet together, restore themselves as a community. And they are a fantastic community.
I've got a lot of confidence in this government of national unity. The Minister of Land is a people's man, Mr. Hanekon. I think he will help us get this land there because he knows it belonged to us. It was our land. And he's that type of man, I think, that won't let people be robbed of what belongs to them.
You know, if there is any case stronger than the case of the Zanzibari community in South Africa, I have not heard about it. And this will give the government and the commission an ideal opportunity to restore to people from whom land was forcibly taken away, to whom this means so much. I've met some of the elders, and they have vivid memories of how they were evicted without their consent, how they resisted but without avail. And I have no doubt that the commission and eventually the government is going to restore this land to the Zanzibari community.
You know, that place, it had some special magic, and I still believe to this day, if we go back there, that magic will come up again.
The peaceful but determined struggle to reclaim the land is not only based on the historical legacy of the freed slaves and the dehumanization and dispossession of the Zanzibari community. It is also a struggle to ensure that the younger generation will inherit the sense of liberation which the promised land of King's Rest once held for their freed slave ancestors.
Ela
kwaya. Ela puele ananene, we have o malani la kwaya. Ela puele ananene. Ela puele ananene. Ela puele ananene, we have o malani la kwaya. Ela puele ananene, we have o malani la kwaya. Ela puele ananene. Ela puele ananene. Ela puele ananene, muyawe o malani la kwaya. Ela puele ananene, muyawe o malani la kwaya. Ela puele ananene. Ela puele ananene. Ela puele ananene, muyawe o malani la kwaya. Ela puele ananene, muyawe o malani la kwaya. Kumihakanina. Malekum salamu karibina. Salam alaikum, malekum salamu karibina.